Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everyone. This is Brother Mushtaq coming at you live from the Happy Strong Family studio in Masjid Dar Liman, Markham. And today we have a returning guest, Imam Ayman. Welcome back to the show.
Jazakallah khair, my brother. I am happy to be back again.
Awesome. Awesome. And this time we're gonna be a little bit more off the cuff. All right.
Okay.
But that said, we're gonna dive deep into an ongoing topic of this podcast, and that is marriage. This time, Imam Ayman, who is an imam and also a registered psychotherapist, he's going to do a deep dive into the science behind choosing a partner. So if you are looking to get married, if you are about to get married, or you want to understand, okay, how do I pick my partner? Then basically you must tune in and watch until the end of this show. Now, Imam Ayman, I'm going to throw it over to you now. Now, you were telling me off air that you're going to look at the science of it all, traditional approach versus a contemporary, or what all the kids are doing nowadays. So explain that now that we're live. Explain that a little bit more, please. Your approach and the method behind all of this.
Yeah. Well, everything you plan for in your life, you need to have a strategy. You wanted to buy a car as a young man or young woman, planning to buy a house. You need to look into the market, choose the best, plan in advance. You work out your finances, all the details. Now, the same is to be said about marriage. It's not just meeting someone and fall in love with, as we see it most of the time here in the environment we're living in. The Valentine, concept, the arrow shooting, all those, things that are nonsense. So marriage for us, to define it in advance, because with everything you do in your life, you need to define what is it for me, what I'm trying to do, how I can do it. So if we were to define what's marriage for us as Muslims, marriage is a sacred bond, a sacred bond that is based on principle and moral values. We need to understand what are we getting out of this relationship, what's in it for me. Allah said to us in the Quran clearly that hum wa azwajuhum fi dhilalin ala al-ara'ik muttaki'un, them and their spouses leaning on the couches of al-Jannah. So that means that this is not just a relationship based on interest, based on fulfilling needs, based on legal agreements between the two sides. It's based on creating that bond that will make it safe and possible for me to make it to Al-Jannah. So that's in a nutshell. If we were to look at our ibadat, rituals, because we're expected to fulfill our responsibility and of the faith. Salah, for instance, is a ibadah you do. You don't just jump into doing salah. You need to prepare yourself in advance. You need to learn about the tahara, learn the concepts of salah. You need to be ready for it. As you engage in salah, you get the fruits of feeling comfortable. Your aim of salah is to make it safely to Al-Jannah. Now, the same is to be said about this ritual, which is marriage. Marriage is a ritual by itself. That's why Allah mentioned, salah, the 5 daily salawat, and then talked about marriage. When ayatan khalaq lakum anfusakum azwajan came in the same sequence of the ayat, فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ حِينَ تُمْسُونَ وَحِينَ تُصْبِحُونَ. So this is a ritual. So you need to understand it, the fiqh of this ibadah. You need to prepare for it in advance, and you need to look for the outcomes of this. The outcomes of this would be, what is waiting for us. When we get married, we complete half of our deen, as they say, and then we're able to worship Allah the Mighty better, and then we'll be able to make it safely to Al-Jannah and enjoy the company of our spouses in this dunya as well as in the akhirah.
Okay, so you're basically saying, like anything in life, whether you're planning to buy a car, you want to get a house, condo, whatever, you're going to do your due diligence. You're gonna plan, you're gonna do your research, you're gonna strategize, and then you're gonna make an informed decision, right?
Right.
Now, the same should also be said about marriage. That's what you're proposing. So, and again, look, being here in Canada, North America, like you said, we're bombarded by the rom-coms, the movies, the Netflixes, Valentine's Day, that, it's love at first sight, or you find your one and only true love, and then the rest is a fairy tale ending, right? Now, tell us, like you said, I'm really interested, and I want to pick this apart. I want to deconstruct it and unpack it. What is some of the science then behind choosing your life partner, your spouse? You said there's science here.
Right.
Okay. So what exactly is the science? Because I'm intrigued by this, right? This
Yes.
is like what is the neuroscience? And I was kind of looking over your notes here. You're saying, your brain tricks you, right? Or maybe it's something else tricks you, right? So what is tricking you, and how can you counter that with neuroscience? What is this? I'm really kind of at a loss here. You explain it to us, the audience here.
Now, both from my experience, seeing young people coming to me under the influence, and
of being in love, obviously.
Of course, yes, being under the influence of love. And there are some studies, by the way, suggesting that the circuits of the mind under the influence of love is similar to the to being in addiction, or in being addictive. So in when we're in a romantic relationship,
Right.
we're basically under the influence of combination of many hormones in our mind. These combinations are dopamine, which is the dope that creates this euphoria feeling of joy and happiness, which increases the attachment to the other side. Also, there's the flowing of norepinephrine, another hormone that create the excitement and the joy, and increase the anxiety. There's also the citronine, citronine hormone. Citron hormone is the hormone that if it is decreased, then it creates the compulsive thoughts that as a result of being decreased in the mind, and creates similar symptoms to OCD. Now, when you put all these, the impact of increasing of dopamine and norepinephrine, and the decrease of citronine, the prefrontal of the mind, which is the executive decision making, of the mind,
of the brain,
will be exactly, the brain will be camouflaged, and would not be able to function properly. Which means, in another word, when someone is in a romantic relationship, they're completely unable to take major decisions in their life. They don't have the capacity to do it. So that's the scientific approach, or fact behind this. These different hormones that play role in paralyzing our decision making department in the mind from being able to see clearly. 73% of those who divorce find out that the problems that led them to divorce were things about characteristic of both sides that were existing from before marriage, but were not able to seen by both sides, and then they had to deal with it when the dust settled down and the fog lifted away, and they were able to deal with the person in reality. So this is the science behind the process of selection. As a young man or young woman, being under the influence of romance, you're unable to clearly take a decision that is so critical and so important for you in your life.
Okay, so then, Imam Ayman, walk us through the steps. You've taken a very scientific approach, which I rarely hear, and I think the majority of the audience rarely hears.
Okay.
Here's the dopamine. Here's all these different chemicals in your body that are affecting the decision-making prefrontal cortex of your brain. So your brain is not working as it should.
Yes.
So then I guess either spiritually or from a deen perspective, again, mixed with science, because this is something very new here that you're bringing to the table. How can a person select a partner? Now, there are a few lenses here, right? Typically, at least here in Canada, North America, you'll either find a potential spouse, maybe sometimes in university, maybe as you get older through work, or maybe ultimately if you're part of some kind of, I don't know, Indian or Arab community, some quote unquote auntie is going to come along and, fix some kind of marriage, right?
Right.
Families meet and then, the wedding date is set. So either one of those lenses, pick one of those lenses. Let's make it relatable.
Right.
Okay. To the audience, science is one thing, but let's make it relatable. Pick any one lens and say, okay, you are so-and-so in situation A. What steps can you take, either, like I said, spiritually, religiously, or maybe science? Throw it all into the blender and say, okay, this is what you can do to pick that partner, that spouse.
Now, like what you said, the process would be either to go through the traditional approach or to go on your own and make your way. Now, before we get into this, we need to acknowledge we're as a community diverse. There are those who grew up in Canada with their families integrated. They're moving along well, and there are those who migrated to Canada and don't have the extended family support. And both populations are struggling with the fact that we live in a massive geographical area, Canada or North America per se, because we're connected, and we have limited options and choices because of the fact that we have a small Muslim community in North America. So that makes the process of selection extremely difficult, and most people are anxious, wanted to complete their deen, wanted to stay off haram, but at the same time they don't have these options that are available in most countries where you have 30 million or 100 million plus of population. So that has been said, the process become a bit challenging for them. Now, most young people would either turn to make sure that during their high school or university time that they meet the right person, so they can build the connection and move on and create this relationship. Others could be turning to social media, which is the trend right now,
or the apps.
The apps, exactly, which I encourage people to also explore, because of the fact there's limited options and choices available for them. But now here comes the trick again.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind the neuroscience and the psychological facts that we're talking about, your chances of taking the right decision into finding the right spouse or partner in life are going to be difficult, because of the fact that this approach that we're talking about would automatically get you into the addictive or addiction mode, and compromise your mind's ability to take the right decision. Now, that has been said, we need to acknowledge that Islam does not necessarily prevent us from looking into what we like. The Prophet ﷺ said that tunkah al-mar'a li-arba', women would be married for 4. One of them is, the first one is the beauty. So the beauty is an important concept. Beauty is conceptually, like, what's beautiful for me might not be beautiful for you. What's beautiful for me might not be beautiful for someone else. But the Prophet ﷺ, told us, فَظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكِ. Capture the woman of the deen, you will be happy. So that has been said, then we need to define what's that deen and what's the deen, like what is it, the person, the man of the deen and the woman of the deen. And this is where the challenge comes in effect, that for you to be able to find the person of the deen, you need to look into the most effective process to help you be able to find that person. So far, we're moving along, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So then what is the process now? Okay.
Now, the process would be the following.
Yeah.
The process would be to get someone that you trust,
Okay. Okay.
has the ability to, do this selection process on your behalf while you are under the influence. Because if you were to, keep in mind that your ability of taking decisions is not the best, especially in the early teens and tweens, years. There's something in psychology called personal fable, which is, a feature of adolescency, that most adolescents feel that they know everything and no one know like them, and especially when it comes to the relationship of, parents and children. The parents relationship, parents and children relationship, most of the time is, very challenging. Children feel that, our parents don't know what we know. We grew up in different environments, where they know the internet and the social media, and we go to different, schooling system. So they don't understand the things that we live in. So they become full of themselves, for the lack of better word to describe it, and they think that their decisions making process is more effective than their parents.
Right.
Now you need to go back again to, the concept of our faith, and try to understand, how I can follow the path that would lead me to choose the right partner in my life, which would ultimately make it possible for me to make it to Al Jannah. Because we said that from the beginning.
Yes.
That our goal is to create a sacred bond that will help us be able to make it safely to Al Jannah. And something else we did not mention at the beginning is to create a Rabbani generation. From my interaction with, with young people in the community, there's a lack of understanding that we're part of this global, ummah. And the global ummah right now is going through a crisis. Look at, east or west, and across the world, you'll see there are challenges, wars, poverty, name it. So there is a need for a generation that comes, which the ulama call it a Rabbani generation, that needs to take the lead once again to take the ummah to the golden stages, or ages that we lived in. And so to create that Rabbani generation, you need the incubator, you need the platform to do it. And the platform that creates Rabbani generation is the Rabbani family. So your selection process would be, focused on, I'm not looking for a partner, I'm looking for a co-parent for my children, who can help me create this Rabbani generation, who will be an asset for me and an asset to the Muslim ummah. Because when I leave this dunya, nothing is going to benefit me except three things. Among them, waladun salihun yad'u lahu, a child who will be praying for him or her. So that has been said. Now, my perspective into the selection process would be not only based on love, emotions, interests, or needs. It would be on how can I, follow my dean's requirement. Now, the most effective way to do it would be to get your the immediate surrounding from the people around you, and the most who love you the most are your parents up front. There's no need to explain that. And in the traditional approach of Islamic way of doing marriage, is that family would be looking around and selecting from the background families, the most suitable for them to choose for their daughter or their son. And then it goes after that to the next step of having the two sides be able to see each other, and if things went well, then they move on in the stages of creating that relationship. Now, why the selection process with the support of the family members is important? Because the family members are not under the same influence as you might be as a young man.
Got it.
And they are able to foresee based on their experience in life, and based on their ability to take right decisions, And on the top of all that, based on their love to you as a child, and wanted to choose what's most important and effective and suitable for you in your life.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Okay.
So basically you're saying go with a family mediator, your parents, who can step in and say, you know what, you're right now infatuated with, person, so-and-so. Let's take a step back. Is this person good for you, good for your deen? Do you have some kind of chemistry with this person? What is it that you like about this person? And ultimately, will this person take you to Jannah?
True.
Right? So now explain to the audience, because again, I think you hit on a very core subject here. There is this disconnect between, at a certain age, between children and parents.
Right.
And either, it comes back to a point where, okay, hey, I've gone through my adolescence, I'm no longer a teenager. Now I'm adulting, or I'm a young adult. Hey, mom and dad, I would like to get married. Right. Or it could be that, you know what? My parents don't understand me, different generation, different country. I'm Canadian, like my parents don't get me. I'm just going to go on this app and find my own potential spouse. Right. So again, walk us through a scenario where someone like a trusted family member, or you said someone from the family who knows you, right? Who knows you, who can see past through the infatuation, past through the thrill and excitement of a courtship, right? So again, is there maybe some kind of science here, or from your own experience as to why this approach works? Because again, I'm just going to put it in very realistic terms. I think, I was visiting family in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And we were at one of these Yemeni coffee houses, and literally and it was packed. It's like super packed. You couldn't even find a seat in this Yemeni coffee house. And I think literally right outside, there was a billboard for one of the Muslim dating apps or marriage apps called Muzmatch.
Oh, yes.
And in my time, we didn't have this.
Yes.
Like, what's going on here? So again, break this down for us, provide a little bit more science, and then we'll get to some questions. But why does the family approach, or someone from the extended family, work?
Why it work? Because we said it already. They are not under the influence. They love you. They care about you, and they have the experience in life more than you do, because experience does count. And now this scenario of having the family with you pretty much applied to most of those who grew up here because their family is with them. But what about the person who migrated to Canada, or come to study and settled here?
Sure, yeah.
Don't have the family members around them.
Good example.
Or what if I decided to take it upon myself? I'm a Manchu man or a Manchu woman, and I wanted to get married. Choose the partner I feel that would be most suited for me.
Yeah,
now
good
again,
example.
This is an approach that you could use, but you need to be careful, keeping in mind your mind's ability to be able to take right decisions. And this is where comes the need for you to get someone involved with you. Would that be a parent that you trust and you have a good connection with? They can guide you through this process. Where there that would be the imam of your masjid, or whether what's more professional and more important, to seek pre-marriage counseling. And just before coming here,
okay,
I had a client who is thoughtfully enough called me last week and wanted to get booking for her pre-marriage, and she was inquiring more information. I told her, you know what, you're in the right place right now. In 20 minutes I'll be doing my podcast, join me. And she will be doing that with her fiance. So now, why getting someone professional with experience with the important in the process of selection? Whether you're doing that, as I said, on your own, meeting someone in university or at work, or you're doing that through an app on the internet, it's important because that person will help you navigating through that process of selection. Now, keep in mind, in the process of selection in Islam, we don't go to the first level of personality, but rather we go to the third level of personality. First level of personality would be what you see in front of you.
Okay.
And the second level of personality is what person has in mind of knowledge. I memorize the Quran. Beautiful. I wear a beard. I wear a thawb. This is the first level of personality. I memorize the Quran. This is second level of personality.
Okay.
Now, how much are you integrating from your knowledge and physical look into your real life, which is the characteristic of the Muslim?
Got it.
The characteristic of the Muslim is the integration of your knowledge into life, and this is where the wisdom of Umar al-Khattab came in effect. And he said that to know someone, you need to be a neighbor for them, B, have dealt with them in dirham and dinar, did business with them, or C, you have traveled with them. Now, what's the wisdom behind, these three things? When you're a neighbor at all times, not unfortunately nowadays, your neighbor is the immediate family member for you. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, "ما زال جبريل يوصيني بالجار حتى ظننت أنه سيورثه." Jibril used to ask me to take care of my neighbor until I thought he would be entitled for inheritment after I leave. So that means neighbors know you inside out because they're interacting with you almost daily. Doing business, and this is the fact that I don't think anyone can dispute. People are nice, but when you deal with them, with the dollars and cents, that they become different people.
Yeah.
And traveling at all time, again, used to take longer time than what we do nowadays. Going from Mecca to Medina in the bus with comfortable bus is about 5 to 7 hours. At that time, it used to take them days. So let alone traveling, to a longer distance. So, and traveling, subhanallah, throughout, Hajj trips and Umrah trips, you get to see people for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're exposed their manners. So your selection process would be in the characteristic of the person, not necessarily their physical appearance, and not necessarily on the certificates they possess in their life or they achieved in their life. Now, again, are you able to do the evaluation for the characteristic? Most likely no. Then you need the involvement of the imam of the masjid. X is introduced to my sister, or he's coming to ask for my hand. I need your evaluation. And imams are expected to be honest and professional in their approach of giving the right feedback to the family or to the individual about that person. And also there are some and throughout my book, which is basically about helping young people to do this, there are different tests that one can evaluate within a frame of time to get to know the other side. Now, for instance, how good are they under stressful circumstances? When they get angry, are they going to be outraged? Are they going to be verbally abusing the other side? Are they going to be physical? Now, these things would not be seen in the romantic, interaction.
Right.
It would be seen in the real life scenarios. This is why co-workers are people to consult with and to find out the closest friends, the imams. As I said, you need to also figure out their finances, abilities, and how generous and kind they are in their spending. Are they going to be to holding and to into their spending that would cause you to feel that there's difficulty? Or are they irresponsible financially, that they don't know how to plan for their family, whether it's both sides, like male or female? So there are different things that you need to look for and to ensure that this person has what it takes to make them qualified to be a spouse or a co-parent to raise your children who will be there for you in this dunya and in the hereafter.
Love it. Great guidance. Great guidance, Imam Ayman. Now, what comes to mind is a quote, and it's a quote by Muhammad Ali, one of my all-time favorite, heroes and icons. He said, and I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but something to the effect of, when you want to understand someone, have them over take them out for dinner, but it's not so much the interaction they have with you, it's how do they treat the wait staff. How do they treat the hostess, the waiter, waitress, your table server? Are they treating them like a piece of beep, beep, beep trash? Are they being nice with them? Are they giving a tip? So on and so forth. And it's such a beautiful quote that, yeah, you really understand the character of a person. That's what Muhammad Ali is really trying to explain here. And I'm not doing justice at all, but I'll remember the quote. Now, let's get to some questions. Producer Kashif, I see we do have a number of questions on the board, please.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. So before we get to the questions, just want to share some information here.
Yes.
So the website, we've also added it to the description, is aifs.ca, Al-Imam Family Services, where the Imam offers counseling sessions, advice, so you can contact him through there. And I believe, Imam, you're registered psychotherapist, so I encourage people to look into their insurance coverages at work, especially with the end of the year coming. Like, a lot of this could be covered, and that money going into our community rather than going into the billions of dollars of profit of insurance companies. So inshallah, I encourage.
That's right. Use those benefits, because if you don't, they just stay in your insurer's account. It's up to you to use them, plain and simple.
Correct. And then you can also find the Imam on all of the social media, YouTube, Facebook. I have his Instagram displayed here, a lot of good information and reminders. And so I encourage everyone to follow. You also have a book that's releasing soon that we'll add the link in the description.
Yeah.
And I think you were saying that for listeners of this podcast, inshallah, they have an opportunity to add it for free. Inshallah. So the link's not there yet, but I'll add it after. So anyone that's listening live, please join in, check back later, and inshallah, you'll see the link there. So now getting back to the questions. So inshallah, I'll ask a question first, because it was a sort of a hot topic in my family when we went to a recent wedding. So you know how there's a lot of discussions that's brought up. So what advice do you give to parents or children? Like we said, like, it's a very multi-diverse society here. Guys fall in love. They want to get married, alhamdulillah. But one of the things that we see is that, their potential spouse, male or female, they convert for marriage purposes.
Yeah.
So, and people have different opinions about this, but from your experience, what advice can you give on it, or thoughts you have on it?
Interestingly enough, I got an email last week about a situation where a non-Muslim male wants to marry a Muslim sister.
Okay.
And they were looking for an imam who can, entertain that for them. And I said to them, that there are guidelines that, we in every faith there are guidelines. Whether we're able to understand the wisdom, the hikmah behind it or not, that's a different story. But there are guidelines. Muslim men are permitted to marry women from the people of the book, keeping in mind that they have the iffah in their life, chastity, and the Muslim women are expected and encouraged to marry Muslim man. Now, historically speaking, the context of this is very complicated, because man is the leader of the family, and we need to ensure that the faith of the children will be protected, as being Muslims. I know this is like a topic that needs more detailed and thorough discussion to explain the wisdom behind it. But let's talk about it from more psychosocial perspective.
Sure.
and what concerns us right now, because there's oftentimes young people come to me and say, I met this girl and I wanted to marry her. She's not accepting Islam, and and I wanted to know what should I do. You're permitted to marry a Muslim, a woman from the people of the book, Christian or Jew, but you need to keep in mind the challenges that you will be dealing with on a personal level, because you're now talking about an integration of two cultures and integration of two faiths.
Yes.
Setting the boundaries is a bit challenging, and I do have clients who come to me from interfaith marriage, and the parents are struggling to help maintain their children's Islamic identity, because they need to, of course, be connecting with their moms who is not Muslim, and at the same time they need to connect with their faith as Muslims. There are challenges both sides on how to create that balance and middle ground, and in the case of keeping and maintaining the identity of the child as Muslim is going to be somehow challenging because they will be, shifting between two sides. However, this could be an opportunity also for children to be more open-minded and be more, interactive in their life, being familiar with different faith backgrounds. But the challenge of maintaining their Islamic identity, living as a minority in a bigger society, is extremely difficult. Now, this is part of why I do not really encourage this interfaith marriage to happen unless they both sides go for professional pre-marriage counseling to lay out the details. It's not like, oh, we're in love, we will do it. No, you're in love, you're in romance, you're under the influence. Your mind's capacity, both sides, is unable to take clear decisions. Now, here comes also another challenge. Most oftentimes, I met this girl. I told her about the faith. I give her a copy of the Quran. She wants to become Muslim. Well, amazing. She's coming to the fold of the Deen. That's beautiful. But is she doing that because she wants to get married to you, or she's doing that because she is fully convinced of the faith? So that's something that needs to be kept in mind.
Right.
Now, here comes the challenge. Imam, she accepted faith. We want you to come and help her take the Shahada, and we immediately will be, taking the vows and do our nikah. Beautiful. Now, the challenge comes here, not from the fact that the sister have embraced Islam and become Muslim, but from the expectations of the person who have helped her to come to Islam and his own family, where they expect her after she become Muslim to be a fully integrated Muslim who grew up her life as a Muslimah, which is impossible. So again, here comes the need for pre-marriage counseling to explain for both sides what is waiting for them, and to expect the person who have helped that sister to come to Islam to be extremely tolerant, more open-minded, and willing to walk the journey of faith with this sister from A all the way to Z with baby steps.
Great practical guidance. Yeah. Great practical guidance. Producer Kashif, another question, please.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. So you used the term pre-marriage counseling a few times now. So someone is actually asking, what is pre-marriage counseling? What happens in it? Do both potential bride and groom do it together? What is the outcome of it? It's a fairly new term that's come up in the last 5-6 years, I would say, maybe more.
Okay.
We do have an episode on it for the listener with registered psychotherapist Sister Hina Mirza. It was just dedicated to pre-marriage counseling. It's one of our older ones, but you can also look that up. But yeah, Imam, from your perspective,
basically, other faith background, by the way, and I think in the Catholic tradition, the church would not approve a marriage unless couple go for pre-marriage counseling, and it's basically for the same stuff we were talking about, that to help the couple ensure that they're able to make it safely. Their compatibility is there. They're able to meet their goals, which are not only fulfilling their emotional needs, but also completing their faith and creating the Rabbani generation. And there's and ensuring that each side is able to see the character of the other side. Most often people come to me for pre-marriage counseling, and they're just like they're seeing, like, they see, like, oh, we're coming here because we're having a challenge with some of the issues. We want you to help us be able to work it out. Now they see the unmatching in the personality and the characteristics, but because they're under the influence of love or the emotions, they're unable to see it and clearly say, well, that's not the right person for me, because the attachment is there. They're like under addiction, addictive, mode, and they're unable to see it. So here comes the need for pre-marriage counseling to help you both see the other side on reality, and help them both be able to see what this relation is all about. Right. Is it about only fulfilling emotional needs or physical needs, or it's about legal, terms and conditions? We will be working together towards building, or paying the mortgage and building a legacy for us financially, or it's going to be about completing our deen and creating a Rabbani generation. So that's in a nutshell what pre-marriage counseling is all about.
Right. Producer Kashif, another question, please.
Yes, we have a question here that's saying I think Yo stands for Euro. 20-year-old son wants to get married. I don't think he is mature enough yet. From your experience, it defines if someone is mature enough to. I guess from what your experience, what defines if someone is a youth is mature enough for marriage or not?
Good question.
Scientifically speaking, a person, mind's capacity is mature enough in the mid-20s.
Okay.
The prefrontal, cortex is not fully developed early in teens' life, and it would develop fully by the mid of 20s. And that means, though Islam encourages us to get the younger people married, and the young people are encouraged, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba'at falyatazawwaj, oh young people, whoever is able to, get married. Now, but again, getting married within the right approach and using the right tools, meaning to say getting an adult or your family involved with you in the process of selection. I remember one of the mashayikh, may Allah bless him and give him long life. I remember listening to his talk when I first came to Canada. It was like almost 35 years ago, and it was an event organized by MSA, Muslim Student Association of University of Toronto, and they wanted to talk about marriage and all the details. And he said this, following, example, which is still vivid in my mind. He said, when your mom come to you and say, son, if you want to be happy, marry this girl. She knows what she's talking about, because she's, she knows who you are, because she gave birth to you and she raised you. And she's been watching and monitoring, the kids in the neighborhood or in the family. And she knows exactly how this girl, personality could be a fit for your personality. So we need to create that bond of trust between children and parents. And I know quite often this is not happening because of the environment we're living in, but with also counseling, we can enhance the connection between the two sides. Oftentimes, teens come to me, their parents drag them to me, and alhamdulillah, at the end of the counseling session, we create a more harmonious relationship between the two sides that can help teens trust their parents, and parents become more connected with their children.
Okay. All right. Good guidance and wisdom. Produce Kash, another question.
Yeah, so related to, I guess this one's related to being ready for marriage. So what advice do you have for parents that are of the opinion kids need to be financially stable, especially guys, before getting married? I mean, that's hard in this society, right? What advice do you have?
Well, I understand the concept culturally and also practically that young people needs to be financially stable to be able to make it. But now, keeping in mind what we're faced with, nowadays, especially living in Canada, it's very difficult for someone to establish him or herself and to create a family. The cost expense of living is staggering, and it's increased. But at the same time, we need to keep in mind that our children are human beings. They have feelings, they have hormones, they have needs, and let's try to make it as easy as possible within the boundaries and limits. There is nothing wrong with, and I always tell my younger, clients who come to me, and they come to me with different, counseling issues. I say to them, did you consider marrying? I said, oh, I talked to my parents, but they're saying you're way far away from thinking about it, not even talking about it. When young people are seeing this as a dream, it's not a reality, then they will look into other coping mechanisms to deal with their own needs.
Right.
And these coping mechanisms are unhealthy. The social media is at their fingertip. Who does not have a phone? Who does not have a tablet? Who does not have a connection to the internet? And I don't want to be more explicit, but there are ways for young people to vent out this energy in an appropriate way. Now, the responsibility of the parents and the community in general is to talk more effectively on how to facilitate that process as early as possible in the young people's lives, keeping in mind young people will trust their parents in the selection process, because again, we don't want to be repeating the same issues that they're incapable of meeting or selecting the right person. but with the help of the community and with the talks of, the imams, and encouraging people to be more mindful, to protect their children, to protect the community, and save them from going into avenues that's not appropriate, then, there's a way we can make it happen, inshallah.
Yeah. Producer Kashif, I'll put my own 2 cents on this. I think, look, sure. Even in my own family, you have people who will say, I have to make $1 million before I get married. They're chasing that YouTube, pipe dream that I can make all this money just by opening up my own YouTube channel, becoming a YouTuber or some kind of, social media influencer. So $1 million is the new standard. Mm-hmm. They have to have a house. They have to literally be either the standard, trope, the standard archetype of doctor, lawyer, engineer, which is still prevalent in many of our communities today, Muslim communities. So let's peel the onion here. Let's take all that away and say, look, there's nothing wrong with getting married. There's nothing wrong with living in an apartment. There's nothing wrong with perhaps even living in a basement apartment. There's nothing wrong with, being married while you're completing your university, maybe living on residence as well. Sure. There's nothing wrong with holding down a part-time job, finishing your university education, becoming that doctor, or launching your business or launching your startup, and doing it while you're in the halal bond of marriage, rather than XYZ, which we don't want to say on air, right? We all know it. I'll just give you a very dramatic example. Teen pregnancy. Okay. Yeah. That happens in the Muslim community. Yeah. Don't kid yourself. Yeah. If you think it doesn't happen to our Muslims, you're kidding yourself. You have clearly been living under a rock. Yeah. It does. It happens. Yeah. So that all said, we got, 5-6 minutes left. Producer Kashif.
Yeah, we got a few more questions, but I'll get to maybe 2 more, and then.
Yeah, please.
So this is an important one, because I see the sentiment a lot around. So it says, most youth in my family are scared of marriage due to all the weak relationships and high divorce rates surrounding us. What would you recommend to them?
Yeah.
So they're scared because of the high rate of divorce, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just catching up on your comment, which is important, the way I define marriage, by the way, is also an avenue for you to integrate your personality. So keep in mind, it's not until I become perfect, I'm going to look for a spouse. It is, I am going to be working with my spouse to integrate my spiritual fulfillment, my intellectual, fulfillment, my financial, needs and desires. And that would, lead us to talk about this question, that is, the staggering, divorce rate in our community. And in my book, both into, pre-marriage and the post-marriage, which is inshallah going to be launched very soon. I have all the materials ready. I'm just working on the logistics of the publishing and all the details. I have 2 chapters just defining the concept of marriage, the foundation. I call them the foundations, chapters of the marriage. Clearly the staggering rate of divorce is coming from the fact that we just don't know why we get married. We feel the attractions, we feel the love, and we just go for it. Or we feel that we're obligated to get married because we are at a certain age right now, and we don't want the train to pass us. We want to get married because we want to protect ourselves from haram. Now, these are all beautiful things, but if you define the real concept of your marriage, this is a ibadah. Remember what we said at the beginning?
Yeah.
When you look at it as a ibadah, in the Western perspective, the people get married because they legally want to be bound to create, a family and have children, or they get married because it's the, the evolution of romantic relationship that leads them to, stay together. Now, once the air, the dust settles and the fog is left,
the honeymoon's over.
Exactly, they will be faced with reality. Like, look, I'm living with this guy, and I'm living with this, girl. They find that they're stuck, so they look for an exit strategy. Where it is in our concept as Muslims, we're together, we're going through a challenge. Let's see how we can grow out of it together and make it safely to Al Jannah. So defining the concept from the get-go would help eliminate these issues from happening. Now, also, let's be realistic that divorce is in the Quran. It's not something that we need to eliminate it from our agenda. No, it is there, but there are guidelines and boundaries. If we start this relationship the right way, then chances for us to live through it the right way will be good, and the chances of nullifying that relationships will be very low. But if it is needed, then there are guidelines also on how to look into this. And this is, as I said, fully covered in my book, and the second book, which is about, marriage and how to deal with these crises when they arise in our life. But, in a nutshell, start the right way. You, inshallah, will be, ensuring that you're on the right path. You will minimize the chances of, of having problems in your life that leads to divorce. That doesn't necessarily mean that there are no problems. If the problems arise, seek the right help. Go to counselors who are rooted in the profession as well as in their deen.
Okay, great advice. Great advice.
One more question we'll end with. So this question was received a few times in the past, and even now on Instagram this week we received it.
Yeah.
But obviously there's we talk about marriage crisis, and people are, even if they want to get married, they're finding it difficult to find spouses. So there is a huge sentiment in the community where people have gotten older, but they're not married yet. So how did they not lose hope? Like maybe they've been rejected a few times. Maybe is, whatever reason, they didn't see it as a good fit, other person. They're getting older. I'm talking like after mid-30s, even 40s. Yeah. So how do they not lose hope in this process?
As I said, like in the beginning, the notion we're living in North America or non-Muslim societies, we're a minority, and this minority is divided to different subcategories, and we're scattered in massive geographical area. So the process of meeting someone that can fit your needs are becoming, challenging. It's not the same. Nowadays, alhamdulillah, it's less, difficult than like 30 years ago, or 25 years ago. Now, but however, we're still faced with that, challenge. Now, the way to deal with it is to encourage the community to consider this as a community need. Like the imams needs to be involved here. They need to talk about this issue in a more practical manner, encouraging and facilitating more programs of matchmaking. Now, apps again, are ways to help us be able to connect with people. But again, look for the right apps that are serious about their their services. And at the same time, which is very important, do not take drastic or major decisions without seeking professional help.
Okay.
Because again, when you start this navigating in that journey, you're under the influence and you need some guidance. And do not give up hope. Rabbi inni lima anzalta alayya min khairin faqir. The dua of Musa alayhi salam in the most difficult time, Allah Azza wa facilitated things to him. If things, are, delayed in your life, no, there's a hikmah, there is a wisdom behind it. No, there is something called a dua in the last third of the night when Allah Azza wa comes down to the lower sky. Maybe Allah Azza wa wants to hear your dua, the sincere dua with the tears in the eyes, so you're able to, make this challenge, which is a gift from Allah Azza to you, working for you in this dunya and in the hereafter.
Beautiful guidance, beautiful wisdom, beautiful. For discussion, we're good. All right, we're good. So, okay. Imam Ayman, thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome, brother.
This is a refreshing approach, a different approach from other guests we've had in the past. And again, the talk of marriage is an ongoing topic, theme, thread here within the Happy Strong Family podcast series. So we really welcome this fresh perspective of yours.
Thank you so much.
And the wisdom and guidance.
Alhamdulillah.
Involve someone in the matchmaking process. Use this as a means to grow into your faith, integrate into your faith, right? It's not just a reason to be like, hey, I have a roommate. That's not it. That's not what marriage from an Islamic perspective is about. Because keep in mind, when you get married, it is potentially, inshallah, a ticket to Jannah with your partner. Ask yourself, will this partner be your partner in Jannah? That should at least provide you some level of guidance. So at the end of the day, look, tune in often. If you know of someone who is thinking of getting married, or someone who wants to get married, maybe somebody who wants to convince their parents, maybe they want to convince their potential spouse, or it's something to do with an interfaith marriage, Imam Ayman also touched upon that topic, forward this podcast. Tune in and tune in often. We go live every Sunday here from the Happy Strong Family Studios within Masjid Dar al-Iman in Markham, 11 a.m. Eastern. This is Brother Mushtaq signing off. Bye for now.